Distinguished guests and fellow colleagues, welcome to today's CLC's lecture series on urban systems engineers needed. My name is Shi Hui, and I'm from the Center for Liveable Cities. The Center for Liveable Cities was jointly established by the Ministry of National Development and the Ministry of Environment and Water Resources, with the aim to distill, create and share knowledge on livable and sustainable cities. The CLC lecture series is one of the platforms through which urban thought leaders and international experts share best practices and exchange ideas and experiences. In today's session, we are honored to have with us Prof Lui Pao Chuen, Advisor of the National Research Foundation, Prime Minister Office. Prof Lui retired in 2008 after serving 41 years in Ministry of Defense in different appointments and as Chief Defense Scientist in his last 22 years of service. He was on the board of directors of various government-linked companies, government agencies, and universities. More recently, he was a panel member of the Land and Liveable. He was appointed as the advisor of the Underground Master Plan Task Force, as well as a panel member of the Land and Liveability International Advisory Panel by the Ministry of National Development.
Okay.
Today, Prof Lui will discuss how science and engineering have shaped planning and policy making behind the scenes and below the ground. He will also share his insights into Singapore's effort to make space for its future, which is limited only by the imagination.
Okay.
We will begin with a presentation by Prof Lui, followed by a question and answer session. The discussion will be moderated by Prof Chan, who is Vice Provost of Special Duties, Keppel Chair Professor, Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, National University of Singapore. Without further ado, we would now like to invite Prof Lui on stage, please.
Okay, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to have the opportunity to tell stories. So I start with the first story. First story is that, my secretary managed my schedule. The lady managed my time in Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So say one of the ministry secretaries is trying to organize some meetings for the end of the year, and we'll be taking leave at the end of the year. So my reply to her in email is that I'm retired, I'm on leave all the time, and occasionally I take leave from my leave to attend meetings. So I'm delighted to take leave from my leave to tell you stories here. So there were 9 items from sea, air, land, greenery, transport, and so on. But the focus is on systems. The heading is that urban systems engineers not wanted for murder, because doctors can kill, engineers also can kill, but then the difference is that doctors, when they kill a patient, the patient get buried. When engineers make a mistake, they got to live with the mistake for the rest of their life. So engineers have to be more careful. We need them to make Singapore an enduring home. So what's the definition of enduring home? This is MND term. So after you go through this, more or less, I try to score up what my definition of an enduring home is. It's not on. Sorry. We tested just now. Okay. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Ah, yes. Should be okay. It was working just now. Never mind. We come back later. You always have I love something. I say, why I? We should be more communal together as a community. So we should be, we love something. So I said, okay, I do this logo. So next time I stick it up, for my presentation. In the past, I used to stick up Boy Scout logo. Be prepared. Boy Scout. Now say, be love. We say, move on. Hey? You are testing it, is it? Thank you. Something wrong. Okay. Well, system engineering in Singapore began in the Ministry of Defense by a gentleman called Dr. Goh Keng Swee. So I think less than half the audience here would have an opportunity, to see Dr. Goh in action. The other half are too young. So the four bullets here, the first bullet says he did not allow turnkey. So when I showed this presentation to my colleagues, MND asked, what is turnkey? I said, this term was very commonly used in the past. Turnkey, you just tell generally what you want. The contractor will do a job and finally give you a project. You take a key and it works. No participation at all. And of course, when I was the chief defense scientist, my counterpart was in Malaysia. So they were having a number of big projects. So I asked him, you had opportunity now to work on big projects? Say no. I said, what do you mean no? You got this big project. So, in Malaysia, we got a clean hands policy. That is, we don't mess around projects. We let a contractor do everything. We take a key and turn. Okay. You have turnkey projects. We have no turnkey projects because our minister, they allow us. So the second bullet is that he gave young engineers. How young are engineers then? Young engineers were 24 years old. That's young engineers. Young because they go to university at 18, by 20 years old, they start working. So I was the oldest guy in defense in 66. I was 24 years old. So 24 is young at the time. Well, they get Dr. Goh's personal authority to conceptualize, plan, implement, and deliver major projects. And engineers, how they learn? They learn basics in a university, but actually projects you don't learn in a university. So they learn by doing projects. We make a lot of mistakes. We know because we do our projects. Other people do not know. So we learn and we try to pass the knowledge over to the next generation through mentoring and so on. So the learning of engineering is by doing, mentoring, and passing knowledge on. And not just by attending university. University is required but not sufficient. So engineers learn by taking system responsibility. Again, the question, what is system responsibility? Well, taking responsibility for your system. You sign off. When things go wrong, you say, I did it. And say, oh no, ABC did it, consultant ABC or contractor CDE. Say, no, we fix it. So he created a culture of knowledge creation, knowledge accumulation, knowledge exploitation, and very important, knowledge sharing. So when Khoo Teng Chai asked me to do this lecture, I said, are you sure you want me to tell stories, Then he said, yeah, this is what we're doing. So we are completely in line with what you're doing of knowledge accumulation and knowledge sharing. Well, I'll share some values I learned from Dr. Goh. Number one is frugality. Don't waste time, don't waste money, don't waste resources, but most important, don't waste a crisis. Because crisis provide a lot of energy for change. So this one I found out in Harvard Business School is that there is a business principle is that try to create the maximum amount of change with the minimal amount of crisis. So having crisis all the time is good for organization because it forces you to do more things than being just comfortable. To be agile means decide, don't agonize, because no matter how much time you spend, you don't have enough information. So based on best information at a point in time, move. But then when you move, things go wrong. So you must have set system of sensing whether the project is going according to the direction and make changes along the way. So that's agility, change course. To be open, well, open to new ideas, open to opposing ideas, and to be able to throw away ideas when they're no more relevant. Integration seems too simple, but this is one of the most difficult things. It's easier to be frugal than to be integrated. Because integration means that you got to work with many parties. Frugality means you can work alone, you can be frugal by yourself. But integration, you need to persuade people. So engineers are usually not very good in what? EQ. They're very good in IQ. Excuse me, I got it's not supposed to call, but I'm on leave. Why are you calling me? Yep, that's it. I just turn it off. Thank you. No more calls. Integrated. Within a society itself, within organizations, between organizations, integration over time. I'll talk more about it. Integration over time. Very important thing. Self-confidence. We can do it as opposed to we can't do it, only outsiders can do it. No, we can do it. But we must trust ourselves, and our leaders must trust us. And therefore, they must also confident in themselves that they can actually, select the right people to do their jobs. So, large-scale systems, Singapore, some examples. Infrastructure systems, you got water, electricity, transport. This is just examples. Security systems, SAF, SPF, police, SCDF, then social system, health, education, and so on. Now, something new in Singapore. For the first time, we have got, a coordinating minister for infrastructure systems. We used to have Ministry of National Development, very integrated. And then there was a segregation, LTA was formed. So now transportation went into Ministry of Communications and later Ministry of Transport. And now we've got two ministries. So finally, the two functions are put together because now you've got a coordinating minister looking after both transport and, the infrastructure systems. Now, of course, the first coordinating minister was on national security, so to Teo Chee Hean. But the most interesting thing is this person. He covers both economic systems and social systems. On one hand, you got to bring money in. On the other hand, you got to give money out. Usually, it's the same person. The money, bring money, he doesn't care. But then the other money going out. Now you got to balance both sides. So I'm watching his right hand to left hand. So the Prime Minister pointing, you guys, 1, 2, 3, get it done. Hey, this is not done from by some graphic artist. I just sit down there from internet, pick the pictures and fix it. Now you know why this takes 70 hours to do. So all engineers know integration sign. Integration of what? People, organization, society. That is the soft system, and that's the most difficult part. Integration of their part is easier, land, infrastructure, technology systems, because if you got the first part right, the second part will be natural. If you did not get the first part right, the second part will be fighting each other all the time because it's people who fight. The land cannot fight, the infrastructure cannot fight. So at the end, it's human decision, it's human behavior. But the third thing is DT, the time part. The third integral. So you walk out of this room, just remember 3 integrals: people, infrastructure, and time. So our nation's knowledge increases with integration over time. We must not be a nation that has lost its memory. Alzheimer's disease of a nation. There's no past, there's no present. Not quite sure of future, therefore just maximize for present. So we must know that where we are today was because things done in the past. What we do today affect the future. So therefore, you must make sure what you do create openings and options for the future, rather than close options for the future. Well, I move on to the sea. Singapore is a maritime nation. The PSA love this. We do 34 million TEU. The most integrated person down here is the chief executive of CLC, Kuting Chai. He knows land, sea, water, the whole works. So when he invited me to do this, I got no choice. And later on, I show you what he did to me. He pushed me on the ground. Nearly got buried there. Well, this is my slide. Every time people ask, how big is Singapore? I say, 710, 700. I say, no, we are 1,400 square kilometers, half land, half sea. Because you ask me how big is the land Singapore? I really don't know. In fact, I tried to find out. So I got my friends from a remote sensing, take a picture, a satellite picture, then just measure. Then my friend, the director asked, Prof Lui, what time of the day you want me to take? What day and what time of day you want me to picture? I said, does it make a difference? I said, yes, depends on high tide or low tide. So I say that I don't quite know the size of the land, but I know international boundaries because you've got your neighbor countries. They say, this is your former coastline. Based on maps of 100 years ago, this was my former coastline, and in between is the border. So therefore, the international boundary is fixed. So we got 1,400. No, not that bad. We got twice as big as we thought we were. Tuas Port. Can you see the one? At the right side, Tuas Port. We'll replace the city terminals. It's very fast, 2027. It's only 12 years' time. You're going to move out from a capital. And capital has been there for the last 100 years. And who's the guy doing it? He's a lucky guy, Andrew Tan. He's a chief executive, so he is now chairman of the next generation port, 2030. So I just sent an email 2 days ago. I said, very nice of a port, but where's the computer model of the port? Surely, this port must be going to be $30–40 billion worth. Just give 1% money. We can buy all the R&D and so on. So I make a point that in defense, we have spent billions every year, and my job as chief defense scientist was to tap a small percentage of that to do two things: to develop technologies that will benefit the future, and more important, to grow the technologies, the people. If you don't invest money to grow people, you don't find right people, all these are gone. So when I talk of first integration, it's people, people, and people. So when I talk to him, he says, hey, why not I send you infographics. Wow, okay, thank you very much. So this is from him, infographics, of the next generation port. But then, he didn't know what I'm attacking him. Say, there are 4 fingers, the 4th finger. I say, why you want to fill with sand? Why not create a hole in the ground or powder? So my friend in HTB is smiling at me and said, now know I'm talking about powder. I'm looking at 4.5 kilometers by about a kilometer worth. You build, a dam around. Then you got solid land to work on. So the port can work on solid land, and the land beside can also be used for others. Do you really want to put a house next to a port? May not be, but we have got no land for construction industry. You're going to have prefab, you're going to have stockpile and all that. So can we not use that as our future piece of land for development of structures in Singapore next to the port? And you can export it maybe around the world from the port as well. So think of it, think out of the box rather than take the present as status quo. The present is there to be changed, but you must find the right time and the opportunity to make a change. So 2 ACEs. In the government service, A stands for Assistant Chief Executive. But when you got 2 ACEs, you got a pair of ACEs. Wow, very powerful. So you got Captain Sega and David Tan, 2 ACEs. So I'm delighted to work with them because I know with them they create great things. Then from the sea to the air, This looks like a construction yard. If I did not show you the SIA aircraft and the control tower, you can be any part in Singapore with all the cranes. So Changi Airport is constructing like crazy. To do what? Number one, the jewel. What's so great about jewel? It's great because it's a break in mindset that the airport can only be used for travelers. So the jewel is a multi-use facility. The heart of the jewel is a park. So imagine they're going to park a big waterfall in the center. So our own people will enjoy the facility beside travelers. Of course, there's also a reason for why they need this space. So this is being built now in the car park of Terminal 1. It could be take another 3-4 years, but after that, it will be a very beautiful facility. And of course, this is to wake up those at the back who have fallen asleep. I'll tell you a secret. You notice that every 10 slides, I must tell a joke, because otherwise, it's a boring story and so on, so people fall asleep. So you tell a joke, you didn't hear people asleep. The others heard it, they laugh. They, oh, yeah, something funny, so wake up. So all this part of presentation technique is there, part of communication. Every 10 slides, a joke. Why? This guy is laughing away. He is the biggest spender of capital budget in Singapore. I thought defense was it. No, he is spending more because he has got the MRT, roads and MRT. You know how much he spent there? 5 billion a year. 5 billion a year. Then airport, 40 B. Transport, 40 B. So up to 40, of course, not 1 year, 10 years, let's say. So at 5 B, so suddenly the MOT budget, this year budget, it went up from 5 B to 9 or 10 B. How come it can double? They double the staff? They didn't double the staff. So big danger is that I give you money, but I don't give you people to spend, you still cannot spend money because you need to have the people to spend the money wisely. So our constraint in Singapore is not money. Our constraint is ambition and people. Well, work underway is operationalize runway 3 and see on this side there's runway 3. I'm not quite sure where this work, the pointer. Is there a pointer? No, never mind. This is runway 3. Why do we need to operationalize runway 3 for civilian use? The military using it because when the military built the runway, they said the military needs only 2.8 kilometers. We don't not going to build 4 kilometers. Why? MINDEF money or what? Now you got to pay much more to make it 4 kilometers. And then people came along, sea level rising. We must raise the level between 1 meter to 1.5 meters. So you raise the level up by 1 meter of over a runway. What does that mean? It's a new runway almost. So you need to buy stones, raise the level, and so on. And that will take you another 3-4 years of work. So it's a major constraint. I'm not quite sure how many of you have seen this map before. This is not a map, but actually it's the artist's impression. I'm the artist. I just draw circles and I say, these are the height constraints caused by the airfields. Every airfield occupied much more land than the fence line because there's height constraint, there's noise constraint around, and therefore the cost to a country is very high for all airfields. But if you can only take away one airfield, then you can open up. So what you do is press a button and see the button jump too fast. I go backwards. No. You just jump, right? Okay. He jump entire, no? But so I can stop already. Okay. So be very careful, gently. Right. So what does that mean? The Air Force no more operating from Paya Lebar, so the height constraint no more there. Then straight away the entire city, you can build up. But what it means that the air over Changi, you got twice the amount of traffic. So therefore, you need to have very much tighter coordination between the civil aviation and military aviation. In the past, Paya Lebar on your own, Changi on your own, now no, you're on the same airspace. So that requires integration. Why didn't you do it earlier? Because the motivation was not there yet. So now we need the land. We reached a stage where Minda said, okay, I think we will live with the need to have very tight coordination and move out from Paya Lebar. Well, scarcity of land is nothing new. From the day Singapore was founded by Sir Stamford Raffles, Singapore needed more land. So this is a projection 2030 in square kilometers. Right now we are about 710, so another 55 square kilometers will be created. Who is the biggest user of land in Singapore? MINDEF, SAF. Why? All the army training, then all the airfields, so add together is 19.3%. How about homes? Homes is only 17%. So HDB say, look, I account in fact, I account for less than 17%. So don't blame HDB, blame MINDEF, big user. How about jobs? Jobs surprisingly only about the same, 17%. Of this 16.7%, guess what? Industry occupies 16%. That means the commercial side only 2%, the CBD. So from land use point of view, doesn't make sense to an industry. So you find that all the big cities in the world do not have industry, the old type industry, very land intensive, compared to the business and service industries. But if we find a way to integrate, you can increase the utilization of land if integrated development. So I showed an earlier example of how the Air Force and the civil aviation integrate the operations in Changi. Now we free up Paya Lebar. So defense, how about housing and parks? Well, they're already doing it. We find that NParks is in every HDB estate, so there are plenty of greens in Singapore. So what I'm showing this is that there is a lot of potential. Find a way to work closer together. Well, reclamation. First reclamation in Singapore was only 3 years after Stamford Raffles came, because they wanted the land next to Singapore River and it was all swamps. So Fullerton Building was the first reclaimed land in Singapore, or sitting on the first reclaimed land in Singapore. And that job was done in 3 months. Imagine that, 300 workers cut the hill from Raffles Square, move them over, put it inside, you get the first piece of land. So the first reclaimed land, Fullerton Building sitting on. And then we keep reclaiming. So Collyer Quay and then now Marina Bay, you go up. And we even created a new land from rubbish dump. This is first in the world. There's no rubbish dump in the world. They become an eco-sanctuary. So by chance we did it. It was not by plan. So sometimes things happen by chance. If you let things happen. So the word in science called serendipity. I didn't know what it means. Give a chance to research, do things, something happens. So this happened, serendipity. Now, this is a chart that MP is very nervous. I said, if you really want to reclaim to a maximum, then take over the eastern anchorages. Build a dam from Changi out to the edge of the harbour, move all the way to where? St. John's Island. How many square kilometers I create? 150 square kilometers. How do I know? I got my friends from sensing. He said, somebody measure for me. He said, yeah, I can get 150 square. Where they get rocks from? 1/3 of Singapore rocks. Just go under Singapore, take out rocks. So that's not a problem at all. And by taking out rocks, you create a big hole, big havens. Then fill water, so you got an underground reservoir. So on one hand, I get land because of the dam you create, and the other side, you create a reservoir. So later on, we talk about reservoir. How about greenery in Singapore? Conventional wisdom is that when urbanized, the greenery will go down. Not true in Singapore. The more we build, the more green. Because URA is so powerful. So every time you develop, you must replace the amount of green by a factor of 1.5 or 2. So actually, when you compare 1986 to 2007, you've gone up from 36%, 47%. So when you look from satellite image, you say, look, satellite image doesn't lie, but it does lie sometimes, you know. You can Photoshop, I can just play around. But greenery helps to make Singapore cooler and calmer. Now, calmer means what? Quiet, don't have so much noise. So you have green as a barrier, but cooler. Is it possible to reduce the temperature of Singapore? Why not? Let's take a look. Well, start with NParks. NParks, this is their plan. Every home should not be more than 500 meters from a park. And all the parks are connected up together, so you can spend a whole day just walking along the park connectors. So I try experiment, you know, went along the Ulu Pandan park connector, my wife. Before I knew what happened, oh, there's AYE. I didn't know. So we started with Clementi and AYE. And it's not that far away. Then we realize how small Singapore is. Then there is an overhead bridge for cyclists. First time I see, you know, spiral up, so they must cross. Walk up, cross to the other side. When you're on top of PIE, AYE, they say, oh, that's Pandan Reservoir. West Coast Road, walk, Pandan Reservoir. Then now, how to go home? No problem, there's bus. So jump out first bus, wrong place. Second bus, wrong place. So end up 2 hours of unguided tour of Singapore by bus. But in the process, we did explore, you know, some of park connectors. But this picture is misleading because NParks did not include the training areas in Pasir Laba and Tekong. So if we include the training areas into NParks land, then you have got at least 1/3 of Singapore that is protected. So I say, hey, NParks protects Singapore with a park, but the army, the SAR, protects the other greenery, Tekong and Pasir Laba. So that was the argument I gave when I was in there, protecting, you know, from the 2 training areas. But it helps Singapore to be cleaner, cooler, and calmer. Cooler, rainwater is good, but say, where's rain? Actually, the rain is on the western part of Singapore. All those people who live in the west know. People live in the east also know. The east is much drier. So between the east and west, it's about 50 centimeters difference in rainfall. So therefore, your catchment is, many catchments on the western part of Singapore. But this is something new. You look into the Met Service website, every 5 minutes you can get update on temperature, rainfall, you know, humidity and so on. So I check, say, 1 o'clock, what's the temperature, 5 o'clock, then 10 o'clock, and wake up early in the morning, 5 o'clock, so I can get, you know, before sunrise. So I won't show you the details, it's something for you to look up for. And say, where is the coolest place in Singapore? The coolest place is Ubin. Actually, Tekong most probably as cool as Ubin, but they don't. There's no measurement of temperature on Tekong. But you cannot just look at one snapshot and then plan. So you must look at time series. And guess what? If you really want, if you live or want to plan around Bukit Timah, not Bukit Timah, around NUS, Cambridge, then the geography department publishes very good data. So all you do is look for geography department, and they give you time series, you know, of the month. So you can get air temperature in Cambridge, maximum 32, minimum 27, then relative humidity. So for planning purposes, you have got all the information that you need. But they give a few months of data, not enough. You need to have 30 years of data, because you want to know what was like 30 years ago. So okay, let's take a look. So this daily average maximum temperature, mean and minimum. The brown line is Tengah. So Tengah is the coolest. Who's the hottest? Yellow line, Paya Lebar. So say why? Why they take the 4 points? Tengah, Seletar, Paya Lebar, and Changi. Because these are 4 air bases, and there are AMAT stations there, so I could get data and plot out. Then we find that actually over time, Paya Lebar has become hotter. You look at the yellow line. There is 1985 to 2010. Very gradual, but it is perceptible. In the case of Tengah, no change. What has changed? Tengah is still surrounded by farms and cemeteries. Paya Lebar is surrounded by HDB. So I'm not blaming HDB, just that when you build flats, you do actually increase the amount of heat generated. It's not generated by flat. It's just the buildings absorb the heat from the sun, and then at night you throw back. So therefore, finally the temperature you get is the balance between many factors, wind, rain, and so on. But you look at this over time, say yes. But what it also means that actually we can reduce the temperature by 4 degrees. That is we call it a national innovation challenge. We're going to build a new town, Tengah new town. Surely it must be 4 degrees lower. How? You reflect our heat back into the air, have more trees. But I was also told that there's some new evaporative coolers making use of evaporation, very high efficiency evaporation, that can reduce between very high temperature, let's say 34 degrees by 6 degrees. I didn't quite believe it, but when it was shown to me, I can feel the temperature and measure it. Yeah, they did it. So it's not so high tech. Right? Evaporation is something that's known before, but the new evaporator is very efficient that allows that to happen. So therefore, -4 degrees is something achievable. I'm not talking about -4 degrees over everything. -4 degrees over the people when it matters. So therefore, it's the spaces where you have people in the outdoors that you find a way to reduce the temperature. Well, what do people want to do? They want to connect. My granddaughter, from the time she wakes up in the morning, she's looking at her handphone until she sleeps with her handphone. What do you look at her handphone for? She's connecting with the internet world, connecting her friends. So that is the way of society. They want to learn, they live, play, work, and green spaces. But is there a way to put them together? And what are you going to do? Hey, you want to create things. Because the tighter you are, the more opportunities you make, the more chance there come new ideas, and you create new ideas. So then all the green space for what? Green space, you can cycle, and you can boat. So it's not just green space, but green and blue spaces. And this is an icon of Singapore now. The only park in the world created from a canal. Revert back to nature. So thanks to Ko Teng Chai in his ABC program, money was found for this. So now we've got a park that the Prime Minister will bring his counterparts from other part of the world. Say, hey, see, this is Ang Mo Kio, this is Bishan, and this is the beautiful park. And of course, this is not done yet on a big scale. Vertical farming. Can you imagine that every HDB flat, instead of having trees in between, have got vertical farms in between, and the dwellers of the flat, they own the farm. So then evening go harvest the farm, then they cook. So break loose from the thought that you only can get vegetables from the wet market or from the supermarket. You can get right at your doorstep. So HDB is looking and say, yes, well, are you sure it's cost effective? Because the big constraint is that this thing may cost $5 per kilogram of vegetable as compared to $1 you can buy. So cost. How find a way to bring our cost down so that we can actually grow on vegetable. So needs our people change over time. From time to get married, babies are born. Of course, this is what we need. We need more babies. babies with Singapore passport and not babies with other passport that's converted later on to red. And of course, happy seniors, happy and healthy. Must be the other way around. Must be healthy to be happy. You're happy, you're not healthy, no, doesn't work. That's not me. And that's not my girlfriend either. But the three very important columns is safety, security, resilience. That is what the country can do to make the country safe, secure, and resilient. How we do it? Well, security, safety, fundamental to the nation. So a country invested resources. 2015 defense budget 13B, MHA budget 5B. So MHA is always I'm a small brother. Defense get 13B, I get 5B, and I'm operating every day. The SDF is preparing for war, which we hope never would happen. 2 years national service, every young man do national service. 10 years after that, operation ready, and 20% of Singapore's land. So I showed the F-15 aircraft. The fighter aircraft are the ones that occupy the most land, not just from the airfield itself, but from all the lands around that is inhibited because of noise and height constraint. Well, how about resilience? Well, the SARS outbreak challenged our nation's preparedness and resilience. And then we find that the lab that was developed for countering chemical warfare was used for SARS. So you need to have certain capacity and capability in order to meet the unexpected. So resilient means you get whacked, it happened. How to recover very quickly. So resilience is a critical and never-ending task. ERP2. This is going to be the most expensive government project on electronics. I don't remember any project that's about $800 million and that affect almost every traveler in Singapore. But it is not a charging system. A charging system is only a means and an end. The end is how to maximize use of our network. So this is the LTA C3, communications, cybernetics, and control system. Communication, you get all the information come from a car in real time. How about cybernetics? If I tell you all the cars now, it's interesting, but it doesn't tell me when the traffic accident will cause a congestion 15 minutes from now. So you need to have a computer simulation system that allows you to forecast. And whole time you are managing a live situation with a forecast situation, and then control. You control police, you control traffic lights, you control the fire engines. So the LTA Ops Center is become a real Ops Center in real time as opposed to allowing the system to evolve. So Chu Man Leong CE say, ERP2 will help to maximize utilization of roads. Solution must be trains and integrated cities. So he is talking from the LTA part, the trains and cities. So good, they're really talking about both physical development of cities with transportation development. So rail network, the black lines are there, the blue lines are under construction, the dotted lines are for future development. So on completion, Singapore will be the most netted country in the world, because we have only 700 square kilometers of land. So as a nation, then you divide any country's network by the size of land, we are number one per capita. So the target is to move from right now, the yellow is public transport. Right now it's 59%, to move it to 80%. So can it be done? It can be done provided that you have got all the network and very good public transportation service. So to attain 80% goal, travel time and reliability must improve. So how we compare ourselves? Let's take London. in London, the Office of National Statistics did a measurement in 2002-2007. There's 70%, 71% of full-time workers and 86% of part-time workers taking under half an hour to reach work. So just have a show of hands. How many of you arrive at work in less than half an hour? You just see, there are only 5 of you out of the entire audience. The rest means that it takes more. So it means that actually we are not as efficient as the British transportation system, public transportation system in providing transportation to the citizens. Well, driverless cars. We are not asking you to buy driverless cars. Driverless cars provide the last mile because the MRT station ends in the center of a HB town. But I still need 1-2 kilometers to get home. How? So the driverless cars will allow, or driverless buses will allow that to be done in the most efficient manner. So again, another smiling face. That is his project. His goal, not to replace cars with driverless cars, but to develop new cities. PermSec or transport talking about developing new cities. Maybe he thinks he's a PS of national development. But no, they are integrated in that level, that PermSec level, they're really thinking of new cities. The word is car-like. I like the word car-less, less cars or no cars, carless. So you got, the big one is this A-Star. There's running around in Runoff, then the NUS and the other NTU. So the 3 examples. ePlanner, this is the pride and joy URA. They are making use of big data in planning. So instead of doing manually, the computer will help them. So integrated urban planning, you require iterative planning process with common scenarios, and you can change assumption very quickly. You can see a consequence. So what it means that all the parties working on planning now have a ability to change assumptions and see the consequences very quickly. So this is a major tool, major breakthrough in URA's planning process. At the high level, you've got another tool, Virtual Singapore. There is a tool, a model of the entire Singapore itself, and not just simply the physical part of Singapore. Who does tunnels in Singapore? POB. This is the DTSS phase 1. The intestine of Singapore that runs through Singapore, and this is a DTSS 2 running to the west. But what is new is the one at the smallest spot in Tuas. Integration of wastewater and solid waste treatment, first in the world. Because normally got 2 different agencies, they didn't talk to each other. We have 2 agencies, but they are forced to talk to each other because there's no land. I'm saying, sorry, this is the only piece of land you have. You got to share a footprint. Then they found that actually there are synergies because the solid waste becomes fuel for incinerator. So by working together, actually they're going to get economic benefits. So this is a major project that is under planning now, the IWMF and DTSS. Singapore Power also does tunnels, minus 60 meters below ground. So 2 tunnels, 18 shafts, 60 meters deep, 35 kilometer long, 6 meter diameter tunnel. Now, you can find it on the internet, but they're from 2 different slides, go take it out and paste together. There's general perception that it's very expensive to go underground, so don't go underground. But there is underground and there is underground. Basement space is expensive because you need to use reinforced concrete structure to hold up the void. And therefore, the cost per cubic meter of volume is about $1,000. Per square meter of floor space, about 5,000 meters. But if you go in a caverns, you make a hole in a caverns, it goes $100. So it's 1/10 the cost. If you go deep enough, you find rocks and you can create caverns, and the space will meet your space requirements. Now, that is the trick. But who want a cavern? Nobody want cavern. So MND, the UMPTF, Underground Master Planning Task Force. I get lost all the acronym, Task Force. Spent 6 years. All the agencies, oh yeah, very interesting. But me, no thank you. Someone else, perhaps. So MINDEF led the way with the underground MO facility at Mandai. So why did MINDEF go underground? MINDEF was quite happy above ground. Until one gentleman came along and said, I'm sorry. This gentleman said, you got to move out of Seletar because Seletar is going to be turned into aerospace park. I said, no problem, there's only a junior flying club, we can move out of Seletar. I said, no, not a flying, we need a runway. We want you to move out MO dump. I said, how can? That is the Army's major MO dump. Army have only 2 main dumps, one in Pierce, the other in Seletar. And we'll need 400 hectares of land to replace the dump. So Teng Chai said, you could be joking. You've got 400 hectares, I wouldn't ask you to leave. So you better get out. So direction, move out the Army depot by 2000. He was very kind, give us 10 years. From say get out to actually move out 10 years. So we start looking around Singapore and say, where is the Grand Singapore, the center part? And then say, where you enter the rocks, the quarries. Why quarries? Obviously, there was good rocks there, otherwise the quarry operator wouldn't so stupid make a hole in the ground. And because there's a hole in the ground, then I don't need to go in so deep to drive my tunnels in. So we went around exploring all the quarries and found Mandai quarry the best. So that's why we built. Now, the green spot is not the UAF. The UAF is a red spot. The green spot is my dream that we're going to have 100 hectares underneath 100 million meter cube of reservoir, underground reservoirs. That's a dream. For 7 years, I tried to persuade POB. POB said, no, so expensive. And they said, you know what, you can give me free, maybe I consider. But you give me free, I consider. What y'all? This sort of business, how to do? They didn't say, I want it. They said, I will consider. But anyway, come back to the challenge for underground. To develop underground within 100 hectares of land. Have we gone above ground? We need 1,000. Have we accepted the norms that were used by the US Department of Defense and NATO? We need 240. But I say, actually, we can do better. We can do 100. But we need to do technology development to develop a new codes that will allow this to happen. So that's what the technology development. We spent $12 million. And we save 140 hectares of land. So when we start working on technology development, the MINDEF, are you sure you have enough money? I say, yeah, 12 million enough. We spent $4 million doing all the studies, $8 million testing, including building a tunnel complex in Sweden to test over 5 years. After that, we are experts in the world. So then from underground, we moved MO, we moved to Jurong, under the sea. So this is 150 meters under the sea. So when PM finally opened the facility, he said, more broadly, the JRC demonstrates how we must constantly think out of the box, be bold in tackling our challenges, be tenacious in execution in order to create new spaces for ourselves. So when I look around here, I say, all our agencies have been doing that. How else? 80% of Singaporeans are housed by HDB. Which country never done it? We have done it. How come we got DTSS, that service, almost 3/4 of Singapore? We have done it. So, all agency. But in the past, the demand for integration is not so strong because we have enough of land. Because now got less land, so we have to work together, and therefore we need agencies to integrate in their development much more than they have done in the past. So we need engineers, imagination, determination, perseverance. No, that's what PM say, I didn't say it. So climate is changing, so we must prepare for extreme weather. We don't know. It can be sea level rising or it can be a new ice age. So then polar bears will be staying here. And of course, we are good citizens of the world, so we start moving now into a HDB rooftop with solar panels. And this is an interesting chart of rainfall. Now, this chart is not from Met Service. It's from who? PUB. PUB has been monitoring, the reservoir, McRitchie, since the 50s. Before that, the British were there. So actually, the only record that goes back to 1875 is McRitchie. So don't waste time looking at our data. You want to look at rainfall data, McRitchie, and you find that actually rainfall has been increasing in the last 40 years. What does that mean? But at the other hand, also there are droughts. So at the bottom part, prepare for drought. So the PUB water engineers are working on this, new water desalination. And guess what? The drainage engineers looking at the top, prepare for flooding. And guess the two departments were different levels, maybe in PUB. They met each other maybe only in canteen. But after the flooding, in Australia, they start talking about very closely. They say, hey, can we find an integrated solution? So I may be jumping the gun. Tomorrow, 23rd, is the release date for a tender for consultancy studying three things. Underground drainage system, underground reservoir, and then a pump storage connecting the reservoir top to the bottom. So this is the system approach for flood protection, stormwater harvesting, and electricity storage. Well, I'd like to give a tribute to Dr. Goh. He was a scholar and teacher, very important. He got not just knowledge, he has imagination. Imagination is about the future, about the things that has not codified in knowledge. So the difference between bullet 1 and bullet 2 is that you need bullet 2, and after that you need to be daring to do things and caring for the people, otherwise no one work for you. So he could dream, decide, do, with stout and caring heart. And the last message they always remember is that the only way to avoid failing is not to do anything, and that will be the ultimate failure. So whenever any officers write long papers on how things cannot be done, I said, don't waste time, let's try to do it, as opposed to tell me long stories why it cannot be done, just do it. Well, concluding remarks, our problems are unique to Singapore because we are small, 1,400 square kilometers, half land, half sea, integrations of solutions to limited resources, integrate urban systems, development of wide limitations of land, integration over time to utilize the knowledge that we have built up, and imagination, daring action for success in the future. So our treasure chest, collective wisdom, and many successful systems. And with this, thank you very much. Now it's your turn, is it?
Thank you, Prof Lui.
My niece.
Now we'll prepare for the question and answer session.
So first, on behalf of everyone here, Prof Lui, I would like to thank you for the excellent lecture and excellent stories, and for sharing with us your insights on many rather complex systems. And each of them are actually quite multidisciplinary. If we start to talk about the issue itself and also the solutions that are needed, and certainly with a lot of uncertainties. And you have shared with us how all these carefully engineered systems have actually contributed to what Singapore is today, and certainly achievements that Singaporeans are truly proud of. Personally, I've worked with Prof Lui for more than 20 years, starting as a young academic. And I've known Prof Lui to be someone who truly think out of the box, often questioning the fundamentals, and also, what is quite characteristic of Prof Lui is that he's someone who often come up with very bold ideas and ahead of time. And that leads me to the very first question, Prof Lui. Almost about 20 years ago now, I remember that you chaired a session, a panel discussion. And in the room, there were many pioneer engineers from all agencies at that time. And also, on the other side of the discussion room was a panel basically comprising all the professors from MIT, Civil Engineering Department. And I remember that at that time, ahead of time, you were already talking about virtual Singapore, virtual island, Jurong Island, and virtual seas. So I would like to ask you, Prof Lui, what are your thoughts then of the virtual Singapore? Certainly something that is digital, that today we started to talk about digital city and big data. So what are your thoughts on the virtual city then and virtual city today?
Well, I'm still on. Right, I'm still on. Yep. Thank you for that that question. In MINDEF, we learn to work with different communities, with different professional backgrounds. So I digress, tell you stories that nothing to do with urban development. And I'm okay. There is air defense. So 1975, Dr. Go gave me, my term reference, I was a special project director. So okay, then what want to do? Then he said, okay, sheet of paper, just write down. How about a command control system for the SAF? How about air defense? How about air bases? So I said, okay, fine. Then when I start talking to our pilots and our air defenders, I found they talk different language. The fighter pilots say, don't waste time on air defense. We fly low. Air defense never shoot us down. We drop a bomb and go home. So don't waste time. And air defenders say, our entire profession is to shoot the fighters down. So who is right? So I said, how to reconcile the two views? So I said, you know what? Shall we have a war gaming exercise using a computer simulation to put in all the parameters? Then I discovered that both were right. The fighter pilots, when they come down low, they're not seen by radars, so no one can shoot them down. But for them to drop the bombs, they must climb. So when they climb, they turn the aim. By the time they aim, they are flying straight in a straight line, the air defenders shoot them down. So both are right at different points in time. So, but once you have the model, both parties look at both, it makes sense. And then we can try different scenarios and so on. So that came a methodology in MINDEF. Computer simulation, modeling, war gaming within parties to get an alignment of, yes, now I understand why you say that way. Is it? So come back to virtual Singapore. So 1990s, there was a computer game called SimCity. So I said, hey, people pay money to buy SimCity to play a game. What was the game? The game was actually planning a city, so you do terraforming, moving the earth, and then the mayor will make decisions and so on. So that was great fun. We are making the real city, but got no computer models. See why? Everybody is so busy making the real city, no time to make a model. They have models, small physical models, because they need a cell, so normally, but actually are complex. So I try to sell an idea of a virtual Singapore, a model of Singapore, no takers. Answers that too complicated. It requires so much computer power that it cannot be done, so don't waste time. But all times things have changed. The computer power is there. The visualization is there, and therefore, right now is the right time. we could not have done earlier because the resources are not there. And more important, the young people, they work in computer all the time. So therefore, to work in computer simulation is the way they're working, you see. So sometimes you got to wait for things to happen. So just before, but you must have enough of perseverance. Say, yeah, I think it's a good idea. Keep plugging. Every few years, may have a new minister, try him again. So it took off finally 2 years ago when NIF put in $73 million for the virtual Singapore. But you are smarter. They do it for visualization and then planning for much lower cost to meet their needs. So I'm very happy that actually different models are moving, but I need to put them together. So at the end, there is a model Singapore. Before we make any major decision, let's try out first. And then become a practice. We live in a virtual world that can move very quickly before we pour concrete and make things that takes 10 years to develop. So that's the background.
Oh, thank you. I think with that, I would like to open up to the audience, and I would like to invite you to share with us the takeaways, your comments and questions. I actually have with me a list of names.
Usually in a big group. Usually in a big group, so make it easy for the speaker. So thank you very much. Thank you. Walk off.
No. Let me see. Sing Chuan.
Oh yeah, Ida, old friends. Don't ask questions that I can't answer lah. Yeah.
Probably two questions.
Yeah.
One question is, that is just observation. Singapore has a very good infrastructure road system, right? Highway, we expand our road. But all the time we see traffic jam. Why? And you find out that there's a tree pruning, right? It can't take away one of the lane. So the other side, the traffic will have problems. And we keep planting tree, right? Because we want green. How are we use a system engineering concept to solve this problem? Right. Second question is, we talk about SG50. So what you see in next 50 years, what Singapore will do? Because we are keep optimizing our land. We are optimizing our facility. So next 50 years, what can we optimize? Thank you.
Well, thank you for the two very difficult questions. The first question is that why are there so many cars in Singapore? It's because the public transportation system is considered by many to be inadequate for their needs. So therefore, they got to pay what they call that discretionary tax. You don't need to buy a car, but you buy a car, you pay COE, you pay all the taxes. So there's discretionary tax, so the government benefits, and that money they put it back, into the government budget. So the answer to making use of the roads to provide better connectivity is to reduce the number of vehicles on the road, and therefore you can close lanes, and you can also have another level. So for example, you can deck over the expressways. So one of the projects that are being pursued is that, can we deck over some expressways to recover land, say, between Kent Ridge and on the other side, one north. So you got to solve the transportation problem together with the intensification use of the land together as one system. So when I walk around, the Marina Bay area, I say, beautiful Marina Bay, but why is the road system designed for thousands of cars? So why? Now if there's a river of cars, I cannot walk across the road without being afraid of being run down. It's because during the planning, there was assumption that you require so much of transportation and so on. So there lies the problem. that is actually a lot of decisions are made based on current norms. But current norms may not reflect the future. And therefore, how do you develop something that will not constrain you in the future? So that with the concept of flexible development. Then I always try to find a way to create something that I can adapt later on. So for example, car parks, where asked, how many car parks are in Singapore? No one knows. Because HDB say, I know how many car parks in HDB. URA knows, say, I know how many car parks in URA. But roadside, who knows? So at the end of the day, I made a guess. I think there are 4 car park slots for every car in Singapore. One at home, one at place of work, one at all the others. Every time we build any new facility with 200 square meters of GFA, 1 car park slot. So therefore, we got plenty car park. So I'm the chairman of the Ministry of Finance DPAP, Development Project Advisory Panel, of which Ting Chai is a member. And when we get big project, more than $5 million, invariably there'll be car parks. I can't stop them building car parks because that is the norm, 200 square meters, 1 ton slot. But I say, you know what? In 20 years' time, you may find that your car park slots are useless because you don't need them. But if the headroom is too low, then it's very difficult to convert a car park for other functions. So you must build a car park with the aim that in future, the car parks will be converted for other use. So there's a mindset that can I develop a facility to allow me to grow in the future? The cost may be some cost, but it's marginal cost to make it higher. So there's a long story to answer the first question. Second question is more difficult. Say, hey, I don't know the future. Right now, 10 years ago, I never imagined that every kid will be holding up one device, one pocket device, the pocket two. So whole time they're looking into the device. Now, could there be a new breakthrough that you don't need a device anymore because you go straight into the brain? Then at least, you're looking at traffic, you don't get run down by vehicles and so on. So you find that technology this is a breakthrough type of technology, will shift the way that you work and play and so on, which means that the demand for infrastructure will be quite different. So go back to my first point, that if my infrastructure is not flexible, then I'm fixed. So there lies, say, between the MRT and roads for buses. The bus system is much more flexible, but it doesn't have the efficiency in bringing a large number of people. But the MRT system very fixed, once per line there. So that is something that at the system level, you have been asking a question, what if things change completely? Can my infrastructure adapt? So therefore, design for adaptability for the future is the solution. Because I don't know the future, you don't know the future. But we know that the future will be not the same as today. And therefore, what we do today can consider in the future. So I digress a little bit about the underground reservoir. Some consultants study for us say, you want 50 million meter cube, you require 1 layer of caverns that will take up 2.5 kilometers by 2.5 kilometers. Say, why not have a stack? Why not take 1 kilometer down below 1 square kilometer? You can have 100 million meter cube, just like that down. By doing so, what you do is that you deny others use of that land because, the land on top can use. You deny them use of rocks, but you do not prevent the other part of rocks being used. So whole time you have to be very, mindful. What you do today could be optimal today, but could be very bad for the future. But we don't know the future. So because I don't know the future, then go back to the first lesson, frugality. Don't waste land. Of course, don't waste time, so time for tea. I hope I have my long answer to 2 very difficult questions.
Yeah, maybe I can just follow on with Prof Lui's answer. I think Sing Chuan also touch on the issue of tree cutting along the road. And I think Prof Lui earlier on touched on this LTA C cube.
Yeah.
Right, which is meant to drive towards the use of big data. And this is one great example, I think, where you can truly have something that is adaptive enough and intelligent enough so that you can have the real-time control and advisory.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. So I would like to invite more questions from the audience. Yes, please.
Just throw, you can catch it. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Lui, for your talk. My name is Ninad Jagdish, and I'm from CDM Smith. We build 3D urban simulation tools. So my question is relating to the virtual city. Now, we focus a lot on making the tools intuitive and easy to use for non-specialists. I was wondering how important do you think that is in these virtual systems, making it such that it can be used by non-specialists? And the second part of my question is, when we develop such virtual cities, what mode of development do you think will be better? A single agency making one virtual city, or a competitive environment where multiple organizations are competing to make such virtual cities? Thank you.
Thank you for a very important question. That is, we are building a city of Singapore in a computer. We are building a real city of Singapore. Surely the real city of Singapore is not built by one man or one small group. So there will be always many stakeholders. What it means that the computer simulation must be an open system where you can have different parts, different groups inserting their part in. So the complexity part is, how can I integrate into a computer system inputs from all sources? So that part is the base platform that allows addition of different programs from individuals. So we try to have the system to be an open system where any individual can pull out and play with it. So of course, there will be some sensitive things that will not be open to the public, but the infrastructure itself will be there.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much, Prof Lui. Always enjoy your talk. Very stimulating. I'm Mr. Kwek. I'm from the offshore marine industry. My question, there are two questions. One is, what the disruptive technology that presently you look at it will really change the whole landscape? It may not confine to the urban system, it could be as a whole. The disruptive technology or innovation. Second question, I'm very interested to hear that your virtual city, 20 years ago you see, but it took so many years to come. And along this line, currently, do you have anything that you feel is so important to be implemented, but you don't implement it, and you foresee that you'll come in future?
Yeah, the second question, the second question is easier to answer. There is always a birth date for things. A birth date. Great ideas doesn't mean to take off. Sometimes you got to wait for a baby to be conceived, wait for 9 months, then the baby get born. Some ideas will take 10 years. Other ideas will take a year. Some will take 20 years. But if the concept idea is right, yeah, wait for the star to align, then time will take off. So the second question is that have patience. The first question is, I don't know. Hey, I'm retiree. I sit down, playing golf every Sunday, playing tennis occasionally. So it's all young guys can tell you what are all new technologies coming in. But my own sensing is that the next jump will be inside the head. Can you imagine that you don't need to interact through the ears, through the eyes, but straight through our brains. So I'm quite sure there are a lot of research going on in that, and That really will be very disruptive. I think, and it happened. As opposed to, I got to read, you know. When you're using your screen and so on, you're still reading. You're still depending on your eyes to interact with a world of words, a world of pictures, and so on. But if things can just go inside the head, you bypass the eyes, bypass the ears. So I thought that will be a very disruptive change in the world. Of course, we won't talk about nuclear energy down here, right? For Singapore, it will be very disruptive.
I just want to add on to what Prof Lui said about the birth of an idea. Actually, years ago when he came up with that, there were some of us who actually followed through. And indeed, there were challenges, getting people to buy into the idea. But that doesn't stop us from doing something about it. And along the way, for us at that time, we had people like, again, another gentleman here, Mr. Koo Teng Chai, who actually saw the light of what we were trying to do, and he actually paved the way for us to implement some of these capabilities, like modeling and sensing and data analytics into the system, and that goes on, right? So indeed, it's so true that it's important that that you stay on track, believe in it, and have the heart to follow through. Yeah. So more questions. So Prof Lui, you started your talk with this question of engineers wanted, and where are they? Would you like to touch on that a little bit? And I would like to invite some of my colleagues here who are doing the hiring to say something about this.
This is a long story. Okay, I'll share this long story with you. 15 years ago, year 2000, EDB determined that the future of Singapore will depend on engineers. Great. So NUS and NTU were producing 2,000 engineers a year. EDB's assessment is that we need 5,000 engineers a year from NUS and NTU, and another 1,000 engineers graduate from overseas, total 6,000 engineers by 2015, this year. So EDB to MTI, MTI to Ministry of Education, Ministry of Education to NUS, NTU, ramp up the numbers. So they did. So we were producing 2,000 engineers at that time. We ramped up to produce 5,000 engineers. So this year, we are graduating 5,000 engineers. How to do it? Recruit more students, recruit more staff. But there are only so many Singaporeans. But there are an infinite number of Chinese and Indian students. So the percentage of foreign students went up 40%. And then we recruit more professors. Now, the university said, we must go for research-intensive university. So when you bring your staff, they must be good researchers. Teaching is important, but it's not first priority. Research first. So now you find that the quality of teaching is affected by the quality of students. The quality of teaching also affected by the research that they're focusing on. So now you got two factors. And then the third factor coming in is that 2005, 2006, NRF, $5 billion more money R&D. Where are the researchers doing R&D? Universities. So now we have money. So all researchers say, there's money to do R&D. What it means I must write proposals and so on. So spend more time now on research side. So who suffer? Students again. So over time, you find that the quality of intake has gone down, though the numbers of grades has gone up. And then another thing is that, how about the market itself? The market says, with all the new jobs coming in, we need to have more engineers, but free market. So at one time, engineers get 5% of cost of a project as fees. But with free competition, it went down from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2, and I was told that it's now 0.9%. So who want to do engineering work for 0.9%? It's the same work that 15 years ago you get 5%. So basically is that now the free market and the WTO brought the price of engineering service down. So with all this, we find that the young people say, hey, why do engineering? So 2 years ago, public service recognized this is a very serious problem at a national level. But public service cannot solve a national problem, so they say they solve the problem if the public service first. So the lady in front here, Rosemary Yeo, was from DSTA in charge of HR, is now the director of Engineering Program Office. One mission, rebuild engineering in public service. How? Don't know. She can figure it out. So maybe now you pass her the mic to figure out.
So, Rosemary, you want to say something?
So must enthuse engineers. There is a future rather.
No, not let Prof Lui sabo me. Okay, actually I do have a question. I'm from a PSD Public Service Division, all right, as Prof Lui has said, to rebuild.
Please stand up, we cannot see you.
Don't need to see me, I'm wearing all stunning red
Because
today.
you're knocking at your door.
Okay, so we are looking at rebuilding the engineering capabilities in the public service, and one of the issues that we're trying to stem is this part about the perception of engineering careers. So there are quite a lot of initiatives that we are working on, but I'm going to bounce the problem back to Prof Lui because he's my advisor. Okay, and really one of the statements that he said earlier on was really about this, that that we tap on certain small percentage of the project fee, the project budget to grow, you use the word to grow technology and to grow technologies. Yeah. And when I look at this, the issue that we're grappling with in the engineering world, one of the concerns is who actually should own this? The sense of ownership to want to grow your technologies, because it's not just about building a project, and the sense of investment in people to grow the technologies because they're building capabilities for the future. And of course, the other issue is where you have so many infrastructure projects going on in the government and all the wonderful things that we are building for SG 100. We have kind of moved 50 to 100, so we are trying to get ready on the next train already. And with so many projects, you really need resources. You need to build smartly, and almost in some ways an organization anorexia, do more with less. You know what I mean? And this is something, this is a big huge challenge for us. And as Prof Lui said, it isn't so much the budget that is a problem, it's the manpower and the ability to build, to sustain, and yet to be future ready. So I'm going to kind of bounce the very only one question on the ownership of growing technologies and technologies.
Okay, so you see, normally what I try to do, try to deflect, you say, you try to pass. I try to pass her a ball, and then she passed me a ball to me. It was very clear in my mind that it's not possible for a central organization in a government to own the engineers. Each stakeholder, each agency must own the engineers. Say, they are my engineers, they are my capability, I protect them, I invest in them, and they are my future. So POB is our poster boy. Whenever we talk engineering, look at POB, what they've done. What happened to PWD? Gone. Come CPG. CPG is a good company, but it's a company owned now by Chinese owners. So the Chinese are saying, what are you doing in Singapore? You sold your crown jewels to us. So answer to you is that we've got agencies that got major programs and they must own them. But there are also small agencies that have some work to be done. And this project is one of a kind, and therefore it's not possible for them to own the engineers. So therefore it makes sense for the bigger agency to carry the burden of doing work for the smaller agencies and give the small agencies a priority because they are small, and therefore help them. Help the small brother rather than you say, you're very big, so you don't need more help. So I can see that HDB be rebuilding their capability. I can much more than they have now. They have got great capability now, but half of them, one half gone to Sabana. So actually, so one they build back. I can see JTC, we can rebuild. So all the agencies that has got major jobs, not for the next 5 years, but forever, because they are part of the country. And therefore, the engineering capability is part of the organization, and therefore they will invest resources to make sure that the capability is grown and sustained over time. Yeah. So I hope that's this short answer. So you pass more back to, or I will pass on to you. Otherwise, you pass more.
I'll help you. I'll pass it on to my friend over there, Mr. Yap Tiam Yu, to say something about what's happening on the grounds.
Yes, Professor, I would, just now you had casual reference to CPG consultants.
Yep.
Many years ago, I had the opportunity to work with CPG, and I found them to be very engaging, very intelligent people, and they think they are the perfect people that you described. They think in a very integrated manner. And the project I did with this person, project manager, CPG, and her boss was about 100 million. And this lady, she delivered the project within budget, on time, and it didn't seem to stress her at all. So I was very disappointed that the signal the government gave to engineers was rather dismal. They sold it to an Australian outfit, and a couple of years later, now the Chinese own it, right? So could you answer your own question? What happened? You sold your crown jewels. And you lament the fact that you get very few engineering intake these days.
So that's why we have to rebuild engineering. Otherwise, we don't need to. That's why we are now rebuilding engineering in public service.
Why? Just thinking, we sold our brains. Why did we do that? Because it takes a long time to train a project manager, to train a very integrated person.
That's a question you gotta ask, not me. You gotta ask the ministers.
So when are we going to buy it back?
No, it's not buying back. It's a company, so the company has got a life of its own. And CPG is a strong engineering company, but it's
very
not
clever people.
No, but it's not the government having the government capability to do what the government needs to do. So the government cannot be just buying services, but the government must have some capability in-house in order to buy services. So there is a balance between buying engineering services and doing things in-house. So the rebuilding engineering is not now take everything back in the government. It's not possible.
Okay, so we privatize it until we lost the sight of the rope and it slipped away.
I didn't say.
But
well, maybe I'll
that's very disappointing to.
I was very disappointed
to the accumulation of knowledge that we possess, because knowledge once lost, it takes a lot of effort to get it back,
Yeah, right. Yeah, right? Absolutely
and
right.
These are some of the most clever architects and engineers.
No, but they're not lost. They're still in Singapore.
They're still in Singapore, but they're working for another country.
Not quite. I mean, there are projects in Singapore and so on.
They're still here, of
just
course.
because
the ownership is different.
The profit goes back to China doesn't mean that the staff they're not working here.
Yeah. So if I may, I think what's happening now is that there's a building back. There's a strong movement going on to build back the capabilities. And actually, I would agree with Prof Lui that not all is really totally lost. The people are around, and and I could see many agencies and other groups all building back the capabilities and gelling the capabilities together. So I really would like to invite Mr. Yap Tiam Yu to share with us how
HDB,
that's happening in HDB.
Before you start, I'd like to share with you. Mr. Yap gave a very great presentation, of the work, but one point that struck me is that they say we built the entire town. We built the roads as well, not LTA. See. And it means that the capability is a holistic capability and not only part of the capability. Is it?
Thank you, Prof Liu, for your very visionary and interesting talk. I think before I forget, maybe I have one question for you. Then maybe later I will try to address what what have changed and what have not changed, and what are the challenges we are facing. I think I can see that you are visionary. What in future going to be?
Yeah.
My question would be, what do you think is the biggest challenge that we're going to face in order to reach there? Because, I'm sure you got some answers because you have brought through many of the difficult projects and went through it. Secondly is that the landscape has changed since from 80s to the 90s. In the past, we are developing nations, and we have reached a developed stage. And going forward, the engineering capability will be very much different from what in the past. Okay, last time we just built houses, buildings, but now we are looking into systems. We are talking about development of whole town, right? We are talking about new technologies. And the challenge where I see is that how can we have more people who can think as a system rather than looking into individual modules of engineering. So that is what I thought the capability that we need to build. So I think talking about the CPG, of course, they can come up with very beautiful ideas. But I see it from the point of view, it is a module that we need. So that's our capability we need to sort of build, how to fit the whole thing together to build a beautiful and livable town and city. That includes ABC, that include transportation, parks, and all these are totally integrated. So I just want to ask Prof Liu, what do you think the biggest challenge going ahead?
The title of this talk was Urban Systems Engineers Wanted. So the title is there to let all of us know that we need system engineers look across the entire system as opposed to just looking vertical. We need both vertical and horizontal. So we are relatively good actually looking at verticals, but we have not invested enough in looking at the horizontal. So within national development, I'm pushing very hard I'm an advisor of national development as well, that they should build up this capability of urban system engineering. So a point you made earlier is that how will we face the problems in the future? We are no more a developing country where we can follow others. So in the past, before we do anything, say, now, who has done all this? Then say, we look for the best of the class, just follow. But in many areas, we are way ahead of that. No one to follow. In which case, then you must have enough self-confidence that, I'm the leader in the world. But there are lots of options, lots of ways to go. Which particular route to take? So now you put money into research and development to chase different options. So to refine ideas, say, I think this is the right path. Because we are very invested in our research and development to go that direction. That's number one. Number two is that you must be able to integrate the different technologies that you're doing in development into a larger system. So hence the need to have both the R&D and the system engineering. But what's a tool? The tool must be a computer simulation that allows you to insert different things in and play with. So we need working vertically, university to go deeper. At the same time, I need to have system engineers to go horizontally, and we need to have a means to link the planners, the project managers with the technologies through a computer simulation. So for me, computer simulation is the major tool that we must use. It becomes a daily thing, you know, as opposed to, you know, just use it from time to time. It's a way of thinking. We work the computer first. The city of Singapore, the entire city of Singapore is in a computer. And therefore, we'll try new technologies, insert it and say, hey, what's the impact? How does it impact? When can the new technologies come in to fit in? So the insertion of technology is actually an art. So you have got to do the research part and then creation of technology. Quite a lot of things are out there, but our problems are unique. And in many cases, we are ahead of the curve. So I give an example of the underground ammunition facility, which I did not elaborate. We developed a code that later on became the code for the US Department of Defense and NATO. Why do we want to do that? Because if we did not do that, we use a standard code, we need 240 hectares of land. But by developing a code, but what does that mean? We got to do the research, computer simulation. Then after that, how we know simulation works? Validate a model. So we do small scale testing. But how we know we can scale up? So I need to have a tunnel that's big enough to blow up 10 tons of explosive. Where? Look, for 2 years, Singapore gave up. So we finally decided on Sweden. So we built a tunnel complex in Sweden that we can do the testing. So after testing, we got results. We can write our code. And then all experts from the NATO and US, they participate in our test. They took our results and said, sounds very sensible. Now they change the codes according to what we have done. So I give examples that the methodology is there. You have an idea. The idea must be backed by science. That means you go do research. Then you say, the methodology is find element modeling, FEM models, but how you know the models actually work? So you need to validate. So a major part is testing. And for urban systems, you require the most complex parts. Will the people actually accept it? So that's why the HDB doing it, do it at precinct levels, try small things, and then bring people in to use it. So the methodology have been there, but now you don't have the luxury of time that take 10 years. You have to compress it. So you must have a means to make decisions very quickly. Now, the present process of decision making is must approve this committee, that committee, then the DPAP and finance and so on. So you find there's so much time in the getting a decision, there's no time to do work. So as the chairman of DPAP, I'm trying to persuade Ministry of Finance, find a way to do things in parallel. So one made decision can move very quickly rather than, right now we do things linearly, step by step. So the time is a very valuable thing. We can't wait. We are ahead of the curve. Enjoy being ahead, create something new. And then other cities say, hey, you've done it, we want to follow you. That will create economy for benefit for ourselves, for companies to go around the world selling our solutions because we have done it in Singapore, we show it works. So we got no choice. We already passed the stage, we can just follow others to reach a stage that we have to create a future for ourselves.
Well, thank you very much, Prof Lui. Times is up. The system here is very effective. I can see a card over there that says times is up. Yeah. So allow me to wrap this up. Prof Lui, we'd like to thank you very much for sharing with us, what it takes really to manage what I will call a system of engineered systems.
Yeah.
And also, what you just said earlier on, there's very important lessons or takeaways there, in that it will continue to change. Like what Tiam Yu said earlier on, what we build up today, what we are going to build today is quite different from what we built up years ago. This is going to change. Systems are getting more complex, and how do we deal with that? I think Prof Lui, you just mentioned that I think the important thing is to be decisive and to move ahead, right? And learn how to deal with uncertainties. And that's so important in today's life. And we need tools, really we need tools. Big data is a wave that basically is heading in that right direction. But we have to be careful. You know, the good data, there are data that will basically lead you to the wrong direction if you're not careful. But nevertheless, technology is already heading in that direction, and big data is here to stay, and we have to learn how to do this. And so with that, I would like to thank Prof Lui once again, and please join me in applauding.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Prof Lui and Prof Chan, for sharing your insights and experiences with us. We would like now to invite Mr. Khoo Ting Chai, Executive Director of CLC, to present our panelists with a token of appreciation to our speaker and moderator. And for photo taking, Mr. Khoo, please. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our lecture. We thank you for your participation. Do stay tuned to CLC mailers and website for information on our upcoming events. We will also be seeking your feedback via email and will greatly appreciate if you could take some time to help us improve the lecture series. Have a good evening, and we hope to see you again.